Welcome back to another episode of Void City Reviews. I am Dan.
I'm Toast.
And today we are going to be looking at the McFarlane Toys Omega Spawn figure here from the Spawn universe. This guy is humongous, he is very heavy, and he looks a lot better in real life than in all the photos. And I thought he looked cool already, but seeing him up close and personal on the shelf, seeing the sculpt through the plastic box here even, he looked quite impressive.
He is huge and impressive.
Oh yeah. I think we're just gonna jump right in here and get this guy right out of the box. Take a look at him.
Awesome.
Sweet, let's do it. So here he is out of the box. This is Omega Spawn from McFarlane Toys. It's a Spawn villain from the Spawn universe. How many times can I say Spawn in one sentence?
It's going to be a lot in this video.
Yeah, if it has to do with Todd and Spawn, then Spawn's going to get mentioned many times. So this guy, he's also known as Omega the Conqueror, and I guess he's one of the most powerful and oldest Hellspawns that there is. And at one point in a comic called Image United, he was actually cloned into Al Simmons. So our good old trusty heroic Spawn that we've come to know got turned into this guy and then tried to fight the entire Image universe. And the comic was so bad they never even finished it, and it's just done now. So that happened.
I didn't read Image United. I had no interest at the time, and it's a good thing, I guess, because it's never going to be finished.
No. And
I did read a few issues with this guy in it when it was in the 300 teens, I think. I was reading for a few months, and then I said, I don't really like Todd's writing. So I stopped, but he's definitely one of the more interesting designs that I've seen, and I like him as a toy.
He kind of looks to me like he's just like Malboja Spawn, especially with that big set of horns on the head and the spikes and everything, but I think he's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I like the horns.
Oh, me too. The spikes coming out on his shoulders and all over the place.
I've never really understood the crossed chains.
Yeah, it almost looks like when they're mixed with the M on his chest and then the two straps with the spikes, which is also weird. Like, why does he have, is that just what's holding his cape on, I guess, maybe? But that's uncomfortable to have a bunch of big spikes in your armpit. Like, that's weird. It kind of almost looks like it's an upside down star on there. So it's almost like a pentacle or pentagram, whatever it's called. I don't know, maybe that's what they were trying to go for a little bit with that, but otherwise I think it's just because you have to have chains with the Spawn.
I wonder who designed this, if it was Todd or somebody else.
I'm sure he had to have had a say in it at the very least.
But yeah, there's definitely, well, if he designed the original for United, then they probably took elements. So he's a cool design. This is not one that I'm going to be getting. I don't care enough about the character, but I do think he makes a cool looking toy, and like many of them, I think he's much better out of the box than the marketing photos suggest.
Yes, I'll agree with that, especially when you can see the details of the face more up close and like some of the color on the spikes and everything.
Well, so in the box, the head was kind of pointed down, and I thought it might have limited range, but then I got it out, and he can
it moves
look
a
up
lot.
just fine. Like, the head moves a great amount, honestly.
It really does. It has, as far as articulation, what aside from the ankles, it looks to be pretty standard McFarlane Toys articulation. Does he have? So he doesn't swivel at the biceps, but he does swivel at the elbows, it looks like. So that's kind of where you get the lower bicep swivel.
Which is what he does for the larger figures.
Yeah. I think especially after, because I think Darkseid didn't have that. He actually did have the bicep swivel, and that was one of the main places that figure would break when people were trying to pose him, was his biceps would just break right off. So I think maybe that's why ever since then I feel like I haven't seen that much on the Mega figures. He is still incredibly top heavy, like a lot of the bigger figures tend to be. So that, coupled with the fact that he does have the ankles like the bigger figures tend to have, where it's not on the ball joint or even the shape to like an ankle ball joint they have anymore. It's actually like a, what would you call this? Like a ratchet?
Yeah, it's just a ratchet ankle.
Yeah, but it's not strong enough. So much like the Titan Joker, because he's so top heavy, you kind of have to finagle his knees and his other foot kind of just right, along with where the stand is located, just to offset also how heavy the cape is, because that cape is super thick. That does look really nice, though.
I kind of wish he'd get into some soft goods.
Yeah, I just feel like that would drive up the price so much.
Versus that much plastic. I mean, I know.
Well, I guess that's a good point. That is a lot of plastic.
So some of the He-Mans have really produced some cheap capes, the Masterverse. But I don't know. You could do, I think, fabric for a fraction of the cost of that much plastic. And the Black Adam cloaked Black Adam has a ridiculous amount of plastic.
And it's also like just as heavy as the figure itself is pretty much. You've opened that one up. I haven't opened that one up yet, but you said it's pretty much impossible for him to stand, even with his foot stand underneath.
I could get him to stand, but he's been laying down on my desk for weeks. I'm like, I'm not even going to bother standing. I'm just going to wait for a custom cape that I've already ordered.
Nice.
So initially when I was trying to get this guy to stand, I got him using this stand, but then the other foot was kind of hovering off the ground. So all of the weight was actually on just one leg. And I'm like, this.
So does that mean he technically passes the 1 foot challenge? Well, or does that have to be without a stand?
Without a stand.
No, it was still interesting to see it because he was definitely hovering. His other foot was off the ground. So it means all his other joints are pretty tight. It's just...
So one of the problems I think this figure has is the feet aren't flat. There's an actual arch, which is nice, but it does make, and then the toes, there's a little bit of a curl there.
Yeah.
So the feet aren't exactly flat, and you've got it posed...
Unless you do it just right.
Really well, with a bent knee and then one leg sticking out a bit, but the feet are flat. He's standing. He's not falling over. He's not actually resting on the back here.
Yeah. But just the static, like, A pose, that was where we ran into problems because just the way his body is situated and the way his feet go, then you're going to kind of have, especially if you're using the stand, then one of his feet's probably going to be floating off the ground maybe.
You got to distribute the weight is what we're saying.
Yes. It's not as bad as some of the other ones. Like, it's not as bad as Titan Joker. It's not as bad as Man Bat. That figure, good luck standing that guy up. He's an awesome looking figure, but good luck. It could be a little bit better as far as the strength of the joints go, but I think this one is probably one of the better ones, at least in my experience, as far as trying to get him to stand up, because at least we got him to stand up.
Yeah.
And I feel confident he wouldn't fall, at least in this pose.
Yeah. And there's probably a few other ways that you could rearrange the legs.
Oh, yeah.
And then
put his arms down.
The arms to counterbalance whatever sort of, weight that's needed.
Yeah. So just be careful, though, if you have a display case and you have him on one of the glass shelves, just be cautious because he is quite heavy.
Although he's probably going to fall backwards, not forwards, so he shouldn't be taking any shelf dives.
That's true.
He might just take out whatever's standing behind him.
Which, although that big giant cape might actually kind of cushion the blow. Like wearing an entire bear on his back.
Shag carpet.
Yeah.
And then he's all attached up at the shoulders. It's not like Frost King where it's pegged into the back.
Yeah, it's super attached. I think these straps are... The straps are glued on. The straps with the spikes on them. So that's another piece. His like weird spike suspenders. Yeah, I like the kind of weathering, or what would you call that, on his spikes.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Kind of like stony.
It's really just a wash, but it's effective.
Yeah. Kind of like Doomsday-ish. That's the thing. Everyone needs spikes now, and everyone needs these giant horns. That's a really cool face.
It's an excellent face.
Good detail.
I like the open mouth. The green eyes really pop.
Yes. The only thing missing, like a lot of the Megafigs have, he should have like a jaw that opens and closes. That'd be cool.
I think he should have been a Megafig.
He
should have been.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I think
like he's definitely one. His box is humongous.
I think he should have been taller.
We were discussing that though off camera about how there might be eventually a monolith figure, and he would need to be even bigger. So maybe they're kind of just saving out the scale so that he could be like a 12-inch. And then he would scale a little more correctly to this guy. But then this guy is still bigger than other spawns. Although, who knows? Did they shrink him at all for his more recent appearances after Image United, you think?
I didn't read Image United. I thought he was more human-sized for Image United based on the few images that I had seen.
He's a little bit bigger than regular Spawn just because he kind of like hulked out.
And then in the 300s, I thought he was pretty sizable.
He did look pretty big in those pictures.
And Monolith is enormous. So maybe Monolith is going to wind up being like a 12-inch figure.
Right. I can imagine how heavy that thing would be, like a plastic bowling ball.
So Gunslinger has always been tall. We've got the Mortal Kombat Spawn on the other end. You can see he's at least an inch taller.
He's more in line with the DC Multiverse figure scale of actually being about 7 inches, whereas the Spawn figures, at least the regular ones, tend to be closer to 7.5 or 8, with Gunslinger being one of the tallest.
Gunslinger's really tall.
He's actually taller than Omega Spawn, if you count his hat. I mean, they're just about eye level with each other. So that's a little surprising. I thought Omega would be a bit bigger based on how huge his box is, but I think all the Omega figs just have that same standard box size like Todd was talking about in that video.
I think so. And I don't know if that's like a cost savings thing. It seems weird.
I think it's also a shelf space thing. Like, you get this many inches on the shelf, so you get this tall, this wide, you get this many rows. Maybe so that's why all the figure boxes have to be the same size, and then all the mega fig boxes are the same size, and then all the flat like 2-packs or like She-Spawn or stuff like that, they come in that one flat box size. So that's all kind of, there's like 3 different sizes of McFarlane Toys boxes, or like the 2-packs. Yeah, it
just seems like there's a lot of empty space in some of those boxes.
Yes, there does. There tends to be. Like Clayface is another prime example where he's a lot smaller than you think he would be based on the box size and how big he looks in the pictures.
I like this, and one of the things that I think I probably like the least is the weird red shapes. And it does break up the color pretty well. But I don't know why he just has, it's like he outlined, he's like, well, I got some spikes, so I'm just going to paint an outline around them.
Toasty! It does kind of look like someone just like spray painted those lines on his legs and on his arms.
And then the arm one is a bit more, I don't want to use tribal, but it's more, I guess, organic. It's not as like squared off.
Yeah, it's not just like a weird V shape.
Here's my shin guard. I don't know. It breaks up the color, but if you focus on it, you're like, why is that there?
Yeah. And why is there no sculpt associated with it? Like, it really does just look like, especially with the little parts that kind of drip down at the bottom edges, it just looks like he spray painted on his own legs. That's kind of strange.
So I don't know. Ultimately, I'm saying it's a cool figure, but not one that I will be buying for myself.
I think he looks nicer next to the Mortal Kombat spawns because they make him look a bit more imposing. But when he's like just the same size as the other ones, it's like, oh, okay, he's just like buff Spawn. He's not Omega necessarily.
They go together well too because their suits are textured.
Yes.
Not like the Shadow of the Spawn where he's going to have a smooth body.
Yeah. Well, that'll still be interesting. It's another pretty cool figure in a line of pretty awesome looking, updated, awesome new Spawn figures, in my opinion. This guy's going to keep on making me have to get new display cases for all these things.
Gotta plan ahead.
Oh, God.
I fixed this chain. It's been bothering me the whole video. It was like up on top of one of the spikes, and so it was not laying correctly. But these things, so they are glued on, but they're also somewhat movable. And so it's attached here, and you can move it kind of out of the way if it's, packaged incorrectly. Anyway.
That's one of the first things we looked at and said, hey, this is the first thing everyone's going to customize about this figure, is they're going to put real chains on him, and then they're going to put some kind of a cloth cape on him. But definitely everyone's going to switch out those chains.
To remove that would take a lot. Like it's glued all the way down here, and then there's just a lot of plastic.
He's one that I wouldn't use a heat gun. I would boil him.
You could do
if I were going to remove the cape. I'd use boiling water, and I'd put him in there for a couple of minutes and just soften that thing up, and that way you could probably just peel it right off the front of him there. At least if it's like other figures. But yeah, you'd want to be really careful, because you wouldn't want to smudge them up. You probably wouldn't want to damage that cape. You could keep that for other customs. I know I would. I'll carve it up and make some custom hair out of it. Damn. Cool. Well, that about does it for our review of the Omega Spawn figure from McFarlane Toys from the Spawn universe. I thought that guy was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You did also. So, I guess mission accomplished with that. Good job, Todd. Pretty cool figure. I like him a lot.
As we say all the time, find it in person, look at it before. Don't just buy online,
especially when they're this expensive.
Or don't make a decision before you decide not to buy it. See it in person.
Yes,
it's very impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing, even if you don't get it. At least check it out. It's especially the head sculpt. The head sculpt's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. Well, that should about do it probably then. Like and subscribe as always. Hit that bell so you get the notifications. And thank you for watching our video today. We will keep on trying to bring these reviews to you as often as we can, as we keep trying to get resituated. Still haven't owed yet. Not happy about that. Oh well, that's how things go.
Yeah.
So we'll find a way. Either way, I'm Dan.
I'm Toast.
And we will see you next time.